Alright, what's going on everybody? So there are a lot of big games dropping in 2022. This year's lineup is looking way better than last year, which in my opinion was abysmal. Today I'll share with you 10 games that I'm looking forward to playing this year. Without further ado, let's get started. Rocksteady is set to release their first game in 7 years with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. After the disappointing Batmobile simulator that was Arkham Knight, the developers are taking the universe in a whole new, unexpected direction with the Suicide Squad. We finally got a small look at some gameplay at the Game Awards, and it looked great in my opinion. The movement seems so fluid. There's a sense of speed and verticality with characters like Captain Boomerang and King Shark. The game looks like Sunset Overdrive meets Crackdown on steroids with DC supervillains. This game is apparently set in the Arkham universe, which you wouldn't guess from the art style and the tone of the trailers that we've gotten so far. Aside from Arkham Knight, Rocksteady has proven that they can craft a good story with DC characters, so I have no doubt that the story will be good. From what has been shown so far, the voice acting performances seem on point and the writing for the characters seems good so far. My only concern about this game is the fact that it might be a games as a service game. I'm not a big fan of live service style games at all. This model is part of the reason why the Avengers game failed. Instead of making a focused single player experience, Square Enix made Crystal Dynamics do a live service Destiny style game. At the very least, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League looks like what we should have gotten from the Avengers game. I'm hoping that if this is a live service game that Rocksteady can manage to pull it off. Crystal Dynamics is a good studio, but they were the wrong studio to handle that style of game. Rocksteady has made awesome single player experiences with Arkham Asylum and City, but we don't know how well they can do a co-op style game. It's unclear whether the rest of the Suicide Squad will be handled by AI if playing alone, or if you can just swap between them on the fly. Regardless, I'll remain optimistic based off of Rocksteady's track record. They revolutionized the superhero genre with the Arkham series, so who's to say they can't nail a live service game? Unless you're new to my channel, then you already know I'm a big fan of anime and manga. I'm also a fan of old school beat 'em up games like Streets of Rage 2 and Fighting Force. The original River City Girls caught my attention years ago with its manga-inspired presentation, good voice acting, good pixel art sprites, and fantastic combat. Regrettably, I never played the original and have been waiting for the game to go on sale. Fortunately for me, the game is on sale on Steam, PlayStation, and Switch, so I'll be picking that up soon to catch up hopefully before the sequel drops this summer. The sequel is adding more mechanics like guard breaks and liftoff combos, as well as hired henchmen, which are like support characters. The game also features a bigger map with new locations that have multiple routes and secret areas. In addition to the main characters Misako and Kyoko, you'll also be able to play as their boyfriends and also 2 new characters. It seems like developer WayForward is packing a lot of new content into the game, in addition to improving on what was already good about the original. This holiday, Sonic Team plans to take the Sonic franchise in a bold new direction with Sonic Frontiers. Originally rumored as Sonic Rangers, Frontiers is said to be an open-world Sonic game set in a place called Starfall Island, where Eggman is using AI to take over the technology there. There has been a lot of leaks and rumors about this game. I'll admit that some stuff like the addition of Ubisoft-style towers and the possible inclusion of classic Genesis Sonic has me very concerned. I want to believe that they won't make the same mistake that Forces did by including Genesis Sonic, since another leak claimed that there wouldn't be any side-scrolling levels. I've been very vocal in the past about how Sonic Team and Sega are wasting their time trying to appeal to the Genesis crowd with their 3D Sonic games. They don't care about these modern Sonic games, they usually just write them off. Forces was a decent Sonic game that constantly gets bashed by people that I swear didn't even play the game or just didn't comprehend what worked and what didn't. I've always said that I want the Sonic franchise to move forward and not remain stagnant and solely rely on Genesis nostalgia to make a quick buck, so I'm all for an open world Sonic game. I wish we got some gameplay at the Game Awards, but unfortunately all we have to go off of is the little bit of footage showing off the world, and the leaks and rumors from people that have claimed to have playtested the game. The overall first impression from playtesters has mostly been negative, with people claiming that the open world exploration and combat is boring. Apparently there is a rip-off Breath of the Wild Korok mechanic that someone claimed was annoying. Leaks suggest that you'll gain experience and unlock skills as you go along defeating enemies, completing puzzles, and challenges. Despite all the negativity surrounding the game and some possible concerning mechanics, I'll continue to have faith in the Sonic team. I'm a bit bummed that this game will be held back by last-gen consoles given how ambitious this is for a Sonic game, but I'm still holding out hope that this will be the leap forward that the franchise needs. I'm eager to see how this one shapes up as we approach the rumored November 15th release date. My most anticipated fighting game for this year is DNF Duel, a new 2D fighting game based off of the Dungeon and Fighter Online franchise. The developers recently dropped a beta last month and I had a blast playing the game. I haven't had this much fun playing a traditional 2D fighting game since Dragon Ball FighterZ. The developers have said that they're going to fix the issues that the beta had, and I'm confident that they'll succeed at giving us an excellent online experience. I didn't experience any lag outside of a match or two. This game really seems to benefit from rollback netcode. Aside from that though, DNF Duel seems very accessible from what I've played. I really love playing characters like the Crusader and Striker. I'm hoping that the developers will announce more characters soon so that we can at least get a roster of 20 characters because I would like to have a few more choices. I already got tired of fighting the Inquisitor during the beta. I really hope that there's enough content to hold casuals like myself. Anyway, this is definitely going to be a day one purchase for me. I can't wait to play this game again. The Kirby franchise is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, and unfortunately the series still hasn't become as big as the other Nintendo games. Kirby games usually don't sell as much as Mario, Zelda, or Donkey Kong, but that could change if this new game is successful. Kirby the Forgotten Lands is the first 3D platformer in the series, and it looks pretty good. The game seems to take place in this post-apocalyptic world that reminds me a little of The Last of Us, except it's way less dark and depressing. In my opinion, we haven't had a good Kirby game since 2005 with Canvas Curse on the DS. The golden age of Kirby really was between 2002 and 2005. Since then, the games have been pretty lackluster. I'm hoping that the developers can successfully make the transition to 3D. I really hope this game is a lot harder and longer than past Kirby games. That has always been one issue that I've had with the series, even as a kid. One thing that I'm a bit concerned with is the lack of variety in the environments shown off in the trailer. I'm hoping there will be a lot of different areas to explore that aren't grassy and urban. This game will be released in the spring, so I expect we'll get a new trailer maybe around March or April. I assume they would want to line the release up with the anniversary. The Pokemon Company and Game Freak are taking the Pokemon series in a bold new direction with Legends Arceus. I'm sure if you're like me, you've always wanted an open world Pokemon game for consoles growing up. It seems like the developers are going to finally make that dream a reality. Well, not exactly. Legends Arceus won't have a continuous open world, but will instead feature multiple open areas. In the long run, this might prove to be a good design decision for Game Freak since they've had trouble in the past transitioning the series into a fully 3D game. If you've been following the drama in the community over the past few years, then you'll already know about the criticisms surrounding objects in the environment like trees. Anyway, Pokemon Legends Arceus takes place in the past in what eventually will be known as the Sinnoh region. You play as Ray or Akari and are tasked with creating the first ever Pokedex in the Hisui region. Legends Arceus looks to be the most ambitious game in the franchise as Game Freak is transitioning the series into more of an action-adventure RPG this time around. Battles occur in real time right in the overworld as opposed to on a separate screen like in past games. Powerful noble Pokemon can attack you in the wild and you have to dodge them to keep from getting knocked out. I'm really hoping that these new frenzied Pokemon will be tough to take down. One of my main criticisms of the recent games is that they've been far too easy and hold your hand way too much. Sword and Shield were decent games, but they were way too easy like the other games before them. I bought the most recent game, Brilliant Diamond, and so far it's been a cakewalk. It felt like I was just going through the motions, and the little fun that I had was with the new underground sections. This is where the Pokemon were a bit stronger and you get a lot more freedom. Similar to the WoW area in Sword and Shield, this was where I had the most fun and a little more challenge than usual. Thankfully, Game Freak is shaking up the battle system this time around with the introduction of agile and strong stances, which should add another layer of depth and hopefully more challenge to the game. It also looks like traversing the world will be a lot of fun as you can now ride on different Pokemon. The gameplay was looking a little rough when the game was first revealed, especially the frame rate, but they seem to have improved the performance based off of the new footage that they've released. I've seen people criticize how this game looks, comparing it to other Switch games like Breath of the Wild, which I think is an unfair comparison when you consider the possible budget, experience, and size of the different development teams. I like the art style of the game, and I'm not really expecting much from an underpowered handheld like the Switch. That being said, I did find it strange when watching one of the recent trailers that they still don't have voice acting. I think it might be time for Game Freak to start upping the presentation a bit when it comes to that, and as some people have mentioned in the past, Pokemon cries. Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing whether Game Freak can deliver on the potential of this more modern, more action focused, and open Pokemon experience. The next game on this list, Final Fantasy XVI, caught my eye the moment it was first revealed. Unfortunately, this game recently got delayed due to difficulties involving remote work. I'm not 100% confident this game will release this year, but nevertheless I had to at least mention it. I'm not some hardcore Final Fantasy fan, so I can't sit here and tell you about the lore. However, what I can say about Final Fantasy XVI is that its story looks very interesting. Elements of the story like the Ekons and Dominants remind me of the Jinchuriki and Tail Beast from Naruto. I like the medieval setting, the brutality, the darker tone, and the fact that they're going back to their fantasy roots as opposed to what they did with the last game. What really sold me on this game was the graphics and the combat, which is more akin to a hack and slash game like Devil May Cry 5. The battle director for Devil May Cry 5 and Dragon's Dogma, Ryota Suzaki, is working on this game, so I expect the combat to be flashy, smooth, but also complex. I know some fans will probably be turned off by the more action-oriented gameplay, especially if you can't directly control your party members, which I think was the case with Final Fantasy XV. However, for someone like me who's a big fan of action games, I'm totally fine with that so long as there is still some strategy involved in battles, since this is still supposed to be an RPG. Hopefully we'll see more of this game soon, as it's rumored that the game will be releasing June 16th, 2022. Forspoken is my most anticipated PlayStation 5 game. A third-person action-adventure game set in a fantasy world with a story that is basically an isekai. For those unfamiliar with the anime, basically an isekai is a story where the protagonist is sent to another world. In the case of Forspoken, it follows a woman named Frey Holland who gets transported to Apthia, a land that has been devastated by something called the Break, which corrupts living things. For some strange reason, Frey is immune to the Break and has the ability to cast magic. Also, she now has a talking bracelet named Cuff. Throughout the game, you'll be helping the citizens of Apthia, battling all sorts of creatures, and facing off against evil sorcerers called Tantas. When this game was first revealed as an Unreal Engine 5 demo under the name Project Apthia, it didn't really grab my attention. The second trailer we got was short and it showed a brief snippet of gameplay that piqued my interest a little bit. It wasn't until the story trailer that dropped at the PlayStation Showcase last year that it really got my attention. Since then, we've gotten another trailer at the Game Awards that revealed one of the Tantas and a bunch of previews from different gaming outlets. I've fallen out of love with the open world games over the past 5 years, but this one looks like it will be a ton of fun to traverse and explore thanks to the magic parkour system. Speaking of magic, it looks like you'll have a variety of spells at your disposal and the effects look really cool. One of the previews shows how your magic is affected by your nail polish, which is a unique way to handle that. My only concern is that I saw the frame rate dip during one part of one of the previews where Frey is fighting what looked to be a horde of break zombies. Hopefully Luminous Productions will optimize the performance of the game, especially on PC. I know there's some controversy right now surrounding the price of the game on that platform. Also, some of the dialogue from the early trailers was bad, but the writing in the most recent ones was better. This game has a more Western influence on it, and Amy Hennig, who wrote for Uncharted, helped out with this one. Regardless, I'm definitely getting this day one. Forspoken will be available on PC and PS5 on May 24th, 2022. Making a good survival horror game is no easy task, but the developers behind the Dead Space spiritual successor, the Callisto Protocol, have a lot of experience crafting scary, tension-filled games. The Callisto Protocol is a single-player, story-driven survival horror game set in the PUBG universe, created by developer Striking Distance, which among its staff are 25 to 30 people who worked previously at Visceral Games and Sledgehammer Games. Glenn Schofield, along with many other developers that worked on the original Dead Space, are developing this game, and they have the full support of their publisher, Krafton. Although there isn't much known about this game and we haven't seen any gameplay, just knowing the talent that is behind this and that they have the creative freedom has gotten me excited to see what they'll give us. The only information released about this game is that it takes place 300 years after PUBG at a prison on Jupiter's second largest moon called Callisto. You play as an inmate who discovers a mystery about the prison and an entity that controls it called the United Jupiter Company. I'm a huge fan of the Dead Space franchise. It's what got me into the survival horror genre, and I consider the first two games among the best games ever made. So I'm eager to see what this team will come up with after gaining many years of experience and receiving the backing of a publisher that respects their creative vision. The last game on my list, you probably could have guessed it based off of what I've already said. I'm very curious to see whether the team at EA's Motive Studios can pull off a remake of the first Dead Space game. This game had been leaked by insider Jeff Grubb before finally being revealed in August last year. The game is being developed by the Star Wars Squadron team using the Frostbite engine and will be released on next-gen consoles and PC. I'm sure there were many people out there that were skeptical of EA touching the Dead Space franchise, especially since they were the ones responsible for not only ruining the third game, but also closing down Visceral Games. I commend the folks at EA Motive for being as transparent as possible about their development on the game by showing us an early build of the game. The developers have said that they want to take full advantage of the SSDs on a new console so that the game will be presented as one uninterrupted shot with no loading screens. They're striving to create an unbroken, seamless experience. EA Motive seems very passionate about the game, and they appear to understand what made the original Dead Space so great. They stressed how important it is to be immersed in the game and just how good the pacing was in the first game. From what they showed of their new pilling system for dismemberment, it's even better than ever. They're even taking the impalement feature from Dead Space 2 in addition to improving the zero gravity movement. What really has me excited though is the fact that the game will feature some content that was cut due to technical limitations. The only thing that they're adding that I'm not too keen on is voice acting for Isaac Clarke. I preferred Isaac as a silent protagonist like he was in the first one. I felt like making him a more vocal character hurt a little of the immersion. I certainly have a lot more confidence in EA Motive after their live stream, and I'm hoping that this game doesn't get delayed to next year since it's currently scheduled for the last part of the year. And there you have it. Those are my top 10 games that I'm excited to spend countless hours playing in 2022. I'm sure my list is a bit different from many people out there. What games are you looking forward to this year? Let me know in the comment section below, and thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.